Okay, this is gonna be my pop and no, it's not pop. Practices and perspectives video. I'm going to do it all in one take, so it's gonna be quite poorly edited, but I'm hoping I can get everything out in one take. So let's begin. So what we have initially is the question, that's it, the statement. So, popular music is all rubbish. The performers don't know what they are doing. It all sounds the same and it hasn't changed since the 1950s. Now, obviously, it's like a history question. It's very two sides. It's very debatable. So, I'm going to debate both sides for the question. So, first of all, we must establish what exactly is popular music. Popular music can be defined as music that appeals to a mass audience of an international scale, but it is more typically America and the UK that dominate and pick and choose what popular music is. Genres such as R&B, rock, and jazz are all considered popular music. So, so I mean, the first real artist that you could say was hit a widespread audience was Elvis Presley in the 1950s. His style of music was enjoyed by so rich and the poor, so it hit everyone. I mean, this is different to say back in the 1800s where only rich people went to see live concerts. So Elvis. I mean, the production form of having vinyls, lots of people could get their hands on it, both rich and poor. So it it went to this large audience, as I previously said. So so this was 1950s America, and again, we just described as popular. His successes with the audience um, is shown with number one hits like Hound Dog and Jailhouse Rock. Not actually sure how many he had, but I will check. Okay, referring back to Elvis Presley being popular and him having number one hits, he didn't actually have that many. In 2008, Mariah Carey and Madonna both surpassed Elvis in number one hits, with 18 and 37 respectively. So he didn't. He had 18 number one hits. Um, yeah, and then like I just said, Mariah Carey overtook him, but he was still successful with songs like Hound Dog and Jailhouse Rock. I suppose that leads in the question: does number ones, how many hits you have, does that equate to how popular you are? I mean, we assume yes, but there have been many one-hit wonders. Um, it's a good thing that I will get onto later. Anyway, so Elvis, what he done was he set the conventions of form in his music. So although he didn't invent the 12-bar blues, he popularized it. So the 12-bar blues, and he used in songs like Hound Dog, which are formed around the 12-bar blues, which are first, fourth, and fifth chord of a scale. And we can see that this continued in like 1970s with Led Zeppelin doing variations on the 12 bar blues with rock and roll. So Elvis set those conventions, and their popular music, Led Zeppelin also being massively popular, they haven't changed the form convention. So yes, in a respect, it hasn't changed. I mean, that's one point of it. Um, in addition, we also have to look at the aspects of chord progressions. So one of the most famous chord progressions is Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen's, which is the third minor fourth, no, minor sixth, um, fourth and fifth, um, which is very it's like standard nowadays. It has been used a lot, and the Access of Awesome, the parody band, in I think it was 2010 maybe, made the four chord song, which actually exposed how many popular songs were made via four chords, which was the first, the fifth, the fourth, and the sixth. And I mean, it was exactly what Hallelujah is based around. And I mean, the Axis of Awesome lists so many popular bands. I mean, songs that everyone knows of, like from the Beatles, to Lady Gaga's Poker Face. The Beatles one was, uh, Let It Be. That's it. So I mean, we've got a modern example with Lady Gaga, and then we got the Beatles. We got Don't Stop Believing. So it basically hit all decades, and I mean, we could see how that was that those four chords had made a lot of popular songs, and um, so yeah, and so that's the chords and how it's formed, but the structure has also remained the same. So if we look at Let It Be, there's a very strong correlation with Let It Be to You Somebody by Kings of Leon, which is a typical construction of chorus, well, intro, chorus, verse, chorus, middle eight. It's got those as a structure, and it's very typical nowadays. I mean, again, it's the same as ABC by the Jackson Five. So the the structure and the form of many pop songs haven't changed one bit. Um, Another convention that has not changed is the um, target audience, we shall say, that a pop band will aim at. In example, so the Beatles, who were popular in the 1960s, aimed at early songs at the same demographic as One Direction do nowadays. I know, weird comparison, the Beatles and One Direction. Hear me out though. So, I mean, this can be seen that they were who they were aiming at. The Beatles wrote songs like "I Wanna Hold Your Hand" and "Love Me Do," which are both quite happy, upbeat love songs, and they were centered around the idea that the band could fulfill the love of their audience. I mean, it was very targeted, and this is reflected in One Direction sort of song "Kiss You." It's targeted at the audience. I mean, the audience for the Beatles were teenage girls, and which is exactly the same target audience as One Direction. So, has it really changed? Not greatly. I mean, especially in the target audience, it's for the masses, for the biggest majority. Um, so what else do we have? I shall. Okay, so my next point is argued kind of both ways. I mean, what the point is it's that throughout the years, especially recent years, that the charts, the number ones, have always been this kind of this popular music, and they've always been the same artists throughout recent years. But it can also be argued that every year the top artist changes, and which is again not so much. It's against no, not against. Yeah, well, it's against the notion that it hasn't changed, because it obviously has changed, because there's a new artist each year, sort of like emerging, if you will. Okay, so I'm on the sort of the Billboard's top 100 songs of each year, and I mean, the same artists keep appearing. So, for example, in 2008, we have uh, Rihanna, Take a Bow, and then we skip to 2011, and we have Rihanna again, I believe. Yes, we have Rihanna with S&M. She's quite low down on the charts, but she's still there. And I mean, yes, a artist can have a longevity career. There's no doubt about it. But she is always in the charts. She's always the same artist that is being brought by the popular audience. Um, and are her songs different and more experimental as the years go by? Not greatly. I mean, the Beatles experimented with their music. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is massively different to Love Me Do, as I've previously mentioned. It's so much more experimental, but Rihanna doesn't experiment, and we also have artists like Maroon 5, who Harder to Breathe is much better and different, more rock based than Moves Like Jagger, sorry, which is more sort of really pop driven and very typical, which was in the 2011 charts. I mean, last year, however, it was we see like Call Me Maybe in the charts as second, which is confusing. And I mean, yes, like I previously said, it is a new artist emerging, but is it of a different style? Not greatly. It is still quite poppy, quite upbeat. So, I mean, yeah, it is still technically a new artist, so things have changed. I mean, Rihanna's less predominant. I mean, that's just one example in the 2012 um, song charts. I think 2013 currently, the Harlem Shake is the most popular single, being as it's a massive internet phenomenon. Um, and I mean, the internet does play a massive part in what is popular nowadays. I mean, Call Me Maybe exploded, Gangnam Style exploded, all because of the internet and social media and YouTube, mainly YouTube. Um, so I mean that really does drive the change in popular music for the artist. Because I mean, who'd have like in the 1950s? I don't think anyone would have thought that the top American song could be like Gangnam Style, let's just say, which is Korean. So I mean, it definitely does change because of social media. Um, I'm gonna pause again to collect my. Okay, gonna continue for the motion that popular music hasn't changed by going into the Funk Brothers. Very famous band, very famous backing band that did so many Motown hits. Such as oh, I'm gonna pause again just to find some examples. Okay, so the Funk Brothers did songs like Please Mr. Postman, um, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, that's the one I was thinking of. It's the other one that I'm thinking of. Um, what Becomes of a Broken Heart. Just tons of songs that they done for various artists, so they were all session. But how that links, how the Funk Brothers in the from sort of 1959 to 1972 relate to today's music is quite simple, because they weren't given any appreciation really for their hard work. I mean, these were session musicians, but whose name was on the record was the vocalist typically, and this star mentality has been carried on throughout. I mean, we have the Beatles saying that they're bigger than Jesus, which caused a lot of uproar. And we also have like, I mean, let's look at Rihanna. Rihanna, I know I pick on her, first name that came to my mind, but her backing band is never really like congratulated or applauded when she releases hits like Diamond. And I think her guitarist is Nuno Beckett, who is just crazy good. I mean, he played for Extreme. So, not many people would really recognise Nuno Beckett's work, but Rihanna is the star, and this was very the case with the Funk Brothers, and they felt very underappreciated, and this hasn't changed. I mean, yeah, Rihanna, we don't know who her backing band is. Um, I mean, lots of popular music is more electronic nowadays. If we look at um, I'm Sexy and I Know It, the song by LMAFO. That's done all electronically, so the band is the artist, so they're getting credit. But I mean, back in the day with the Funk Brothers, where there wasn't any electronic means of developing and creating music, it was all live, and the Funk Brothers didn't get any form of recognition, which is greatly unfortunate because they were amazing musicians. Okay, they did get form of recognition, but a lot later on, when actually people decided to go, hang on, who are they? And what did they do? And then it was like, oh my god, they're amazing. So, we've kind of explored the motions of how popular music has stayed the same. Well, I mean, I've developed some points and explained some points. There are many more points. I think the four chord song epitomizes the copy and paste uh, outlet that's happening in popular music. And so, I mean, that is one example. But now I'm going to argue against the motion that is. I mean, I can't. The the question being that it's rubbish. I mean, that's. I don't think that's necessarily true because there are some good pop songs. "Forget You" by CeeLo Green is a good song. I mean, it all depends. I mean, my favorite band is Muse, and they're popular. Does that make them pop music? And I certainly don't think they're rubbish. Um, so that's very opinion based, and I can't really have a say on it. I mean, I can give my opinion. My opinion is that no, it's a matter of who you are and what you like. I mean, I might listen to Maroon 5 moves like Jagger, and my ears might bleed, and I might turn it off instantly. But other people that I know will go, "Hey, it's a pretty good song." So, and I mean that's popular. So it's all a matter of opinion. Um, so against that motion, that it hasn't changed. So I know I'm going to argue and say, wait, hang on a minute, maybe it has changed. I mean, I've already touched upon this when it came to the whole idea of the number one billboards on the internet and how it's constant changing artists. We've left the years of the 1960s where Beatles were holding 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the charts. I think that was the Beatles. It was either Beatles or Rolling Stones. No, I'm pretty sure it's the Beatles. Yes, it's the Beatles. It's definitely the Beatles. They held sort of one, and then the year after they'd have another number one. We've moved out of those days, and 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we've had different artists. We still had the same artists in the charts, but not necessarily dominating them. So I mean, there's definitely more genres of popular music. I mean, I said at the beginning that the main ones were jazz, rock, and R&B, but that has definitely changed. Jazz has been pushed to the side a bit. Rock, not necessarily, but it's less predominant in the charts now. And R&B is still pretty going strong. So I mean, we have like I previously said, LMAFO, yeah, very electronic. The Harlem Shake, which is currently number one, that's electronic. That's dance music. So that's not jazz, R&B, or rock. That's a completely different genre. I mean, progressive metal, progressive rock, not metal. Such as Pink Floyd. That just came to me. I mean, Pink Floyd are massively popular, and they are not really considered R&B. Although they're a subgenre of rock, they're not a main. I mean, The Dark Side of the Moon is a massively international selling um, record. Yeah, record. Um, and here's me typing, just see how many it sold. I will pause and let you know when I. Okay. Yes. Um. It was. It remained in the charts for 741 weeks, from 1973 to 1988, with an estimated 50 million copies sold. That's pretty popular, I'd say. Um. Yeah, that is very popular. So, I mean, again, it's defined as progressive rock. I, so I'm actually losing words. So, it's obviously not one of the typical genres that dominate the charts, and is considered popular. So, we also have the live industry, which is a massive industry nowadays, especially because CDs are being bought less, which is the main form of income. Well, was the main form of income, I should say, for artists. Now, in live industry, massive is now the artist's only source of income. So, I mean, this has changed massively, and the example I can give for this is the Rolling Stones at the Almont Free concert, a massive disaster. It was in December 6, 1969, at Almont Speedway in North California. Um, the Rolling Stones headlined a free concert, and this was massive. This was bigger than they actually anticipated. They only expected, I think it was like 50,000, maybe 100,000 to come, but 300,000 came, and not even sure if there was more. I mean, they did the documentary in 1970 called "Gimme Shelter," named after one of their famous songs. Um, and the event is best known for having marred, well, sorry, by having been marred by considerable violence, including one homicide, 3 accidental deaths, 2 caused by a hit-and-run car accident, and 1 by drowning in uh, the canal where the toilets were. That's not good. However, I'm not sure if this is a good thing, but 4 births were reported, and I cannot remember the last time someone gave birth at a concert, which leads me into my next point. The live industry. So, I just listed what some of this had at the free concert, where the Hells Angels were security, and the Hells Angels were hired as security, and I mean, it was a bad idea. They didn't really want to be. They were given beer instead of money, and they said that they don't police things. We're not a security force. We just go to concerts to enjoy ourselves. They weren't sure that like what they were, and the man died because of it, and it was atrocious. But after that, things developed and it changed, and the popular music in these kind of events became much more better policed, uh, well, um, well capacitated. I don't think that's a word, but you don't hear about overcrowding now in massive stadium gigs. You have massive stadium gigs, which haven't really changed because Beatles, Zeppelin, I think, held the record for the largest stadium gig, which was, can't remember. I will actually check though. Led Zeppelin was a stadium band, so the Beatles and Led Zeppelin held the record for playing to 56,000 fans at Tampa Stadium, Florida, breaking the record set by the Beatles at the Shea Stadium in 1965. So, massive audience. As for stadiums, so we have stadium tours, and Muse have got their up and coming stadium tours. Beyonce's doing stadium tours and whatnot. So I mean, now that's stadium tours have become a massive influence into popular music. Anyway, referring back to the free concert of the Rolling Stones, there have been considerably a lot less deaths since this, a considerable amount of less births at concerts. Um, and I mean, it was a catalyst for change in the way popular music was conveyed. And although 3 people died, it was, I don't want to say for the best, but a lot was learned that day, which was very, very positive. Um, what else do we have? Um, so going back to against the motion, um, musicians nowadays tend to be actually more than musicians. Now we have popular music, we have a lot of um, so we have a lot of popular musicians, and such as Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre makes headphones now. I mean, he's diverting away from the music industry while still being in it and making headphones. And there are others that do clothing and cologne, which is a very important one, and perfume. So musicians, unlike back in 1960s and 70s when they were just career musicians, are now branching out to different popular outlets. Headphones, like I said, clothing, and this is a change, definitely, because musicians, especially popular ones, are being seen more as celebrities and more down to earth. I mean, if you can think back to Led Zeppelin, many people saw Led Zeppelin as gods. That, I mean, it was hard to compare to themselves. And again, the Beatles described themselves as bigger than Jesus, so they were bigger than God Himself. So mere mortals like ourselves, we couldn't touch Him. But nowadays, popular musicians are more celebrities than can be musicians. I mean, we got lots of stories about Justin Bieber, who's a very popular artist at the moment, Canadian, I believe, and he was it's just if you just search the web, you can find out about his life and what he's doing, because he's seen as a celebrity, but not really a um I was saying about Justin Bieber. Yeah, I mean, the press is very all around him constantly. So this wasn't the case in the 1970s with Zeppelin and the Beatles. I mean, they were famous, but they weren't. They were adored, but they were seen as gods. Meanwhile, Justin Bieber was just seen as a famous celebrity and human. Um. Oh wow, I was gonna say one more point. 2 more points, and then I'm finished. One for the motion and one for the game. So one I forgot about, but for the motion, how popular music hasn't changed is popular music hasn't changed. So I had to pause because I forgot how popular music hasn't changed is because of awards, and which I know sounds a bit weird, and the awards do dictate what is popular, what is the best, and well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you award the best. That makes sense. Yeah, so the awards can dictate, and the award winners are normally the same year in year out. I mean, we had Adele recently just sweeping up Brits and Grammys again and again. Muse for like 3 years running won Best Live Act. Van Halen won Guitar Awards again and again, and thus Van Halen was a very massive popular band, and so the awards dictate who is popular. Therefore, it doesn't really change if the same artists win again and again. And the last point against this, that it can change, is feature artists. Now, back in 1950s, 60s, and 70s, there wasn't really any sort of featuring artists. It's only recently that artists have started to appear in other sort of songs for commercial reasons. Well, I mean, I say for commercial reasons, but it's a lot of like um a lot of collab work, and I mean, yeah, you can technically advertise to artists at the same time, which is very clever, but it's a very new thing. So just to give you a few examples, we have Gym Class Heroes featuring Neon Hitch, Big Sheen featuring Nicki Minaj, Maroon 5 featuring Christina Aguilera, David Guetta featuring Nicki Minaj, Snoop Dogg, and um, featuring Bruno Mars. I mean, it's just 2012. A lot of the um, top 100 songs were featuring. I mean, this definitely does play. This is changing popular music, but on the other hand, it's setting new conventions for today's popular music. It is feature artists are gonna be the next big thing, but it's a lot different from. I mean, you never had, say, the Beatles featuring the Rolling Stones, because that would be crazy. That'd be crazy good. Or you never had um, Led Zeppelin featuring um, Jerry Lee Lewis. You never had that, but now you do. You have a lot of popular artists mixing, so that does show some form of change and progression. Anyway, to conclude, popular music is a very fickle genre of music. Some can argue that it is rubbish and it hasn't changed. I mean, I would not be one of those people. I think that music as a whole is constantly developing and changing and growing. Popular music is no exception from this. And that the artists don't know what they're doing, which, I mean, I haven't really touched upon, because I just think that's quite a moot point. They wouldn't get signed by record companies if they didn't know what they were doing, I hope, he says. Anyway, thank you for watching and listening. I'm done now. Oh, sorry, last thing, I kept pausing throughout the video just to collect my thoughts, so if I ever change sentence, mid-sentence, it's because I paused, and I do apologise. But hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully this isn't too long. Thank you, and goodbye.